Welcome to all of you, but particularly welcome to Sevanti Ninan, who will be in discussion with Geeta on the report, and to all the friends and well-wishers and citizens who have joined. Sevanti, can I invite you to now please respond? You've seen the report, and I know how deeply you think about all these things on your own. So please, both responding to the report and your own thoughts independent of it.
So I just want to say that I'll take off from some of the things that the report points to make a few broad points about the way we've been going, and some background reasons for what we see. So first of all, I think the legal because of PUCL, because of the forum, I'd like to point out that the legal onslaught on journalism has become more vicious the report shows that as the state and central governments crack down on the media. But some of those trends have been in the making for a few years. The range of laws you use against the media have been widening, So while there's increasing use of sedition and criminal defamation, and then until it was struck down, the Information Technology Act. As Geeta pointed out, with the onset of COVID, now you've got more instruments. You've got the Disaster Management Act and the Epidemic Diseases Act to use in tandem with sections of the IPC to criminalize reporting of the government's response to the pandemic and the outcome of its handling of the migrant exodus. So panicked administrations across the country have used like 14 sections of the IPC and sections of the IT Act, including the struck down one, 66A. They've used the Disaster Management Act, the UAPA, the Motor Vehicles Act, the ST and, provision of ST, SC, Prevention of Atrocities Act, all kinds of things to issue show cause notices, lodge FIRs against, and arrest, confine, torture reporters. And I think the one reason why this is happening, which comes out in different parts of this report, even if it's not framed like that, is we are increasingly seeing a simultaneous democratization and criminalization of journalism. Because you have social media, she mentions Vastar Ki Awaaz and so on. Social media platforms have transformed district journalism. Okay, because you're there and you can mount your every little individual can mount his local investigation on Facebook and circulate it through WhatsApp and Twitter. These are popping up, these platforms are popping up all over the country. District magistrates have a fresh headache. They now respond to these, particularly with COVID. Obviously, there's been more frenetic reporting because there's so much to report about. So the DMs are responding with police complaints and criminalizing bona fide ground level reporting. All this is there in her report, but I'm just spelling it out. So the COVID situation has increased. Like I said, it's increased the regional media and district regional reporting and district reporting. That's why she mentions at least 5-6 states where there's been a crackdown on journalists actually at the bottom of the pyramid, or little ones in districts, Andamans here, there. And that is so that is one thing, that you have a increasing range of use of laws, and you have a democratization and you have a criminalization. Then next thing is, when you say the state's disregard for media freedom, its indifference to massive job losses in the media, I want to make another broad point, which is that we have to recognize that there has been a steady diminishing of media power. And the reasons are the state does not need the mainstream media so much because it uses social media to communicate. This government actually came into power the same time that Facebook bought WhatsApp, and it's been a great partnership. And between Twitter and WhatsApp, they don't need mainstream media to communicate with people. So they don't have to be careful of of the mainstream journalists. Second, as we know, as there are many examples were given, the police and judiciary don't support the media when journalists are being censored or under attack. An earlier report that Geeta did last year shows how there's not been one conviction over the last, 5 years? What was that statistic, Geeta?
About 156 cases of journalists who were...
No, but no conviction figure was
no
small.
Convictions, absolutely.
No convictions of anything. Not killing, not whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing. The police are not, don't file FIRs. They file FIRs against the journalists, but they don't file FIRs when a journalist is attacked. The Supreme Court, as she pointed out, accepts the panic-driven migration theory. The Supreme Court has, I don't know, I mean, if I didn't have to stick just to COVID, there have been, one after another, there have been rulings that have been disappointing, including the one last year on internet breakdowns, where you may have a ruling, but then you're not enforcing it. And then you're asking the state to enforce, to look at it. Okay. Then the third point is the financial vulnerability of the media sector. I mean, this is, I know journalists are being sacked and it's terrible, but you have to take a broader view of how it's, how the decline in media viability means that, big media, more than small media, like websites and little platforms, will not take on the government. They just have too much to lose. Advertising was declining well before COVID, and that has pushed everybody into increasing dependence on government ads, and you can imagine what that means in terms of self-censorship. So then the second, advertising is shrinking. We don't pay for our media. The cover price is lousy. So there is that steady and getting worse kind of financial vulnerability. So what do? Then the big media developed this whole trend of sponsorship of events, as a source of income. And for the events, you need the Prime Minister, you need the Home Minister, you need all these people to come, and you better watch what you report. So this whole thing has been, I think that's part of the reason why the media is completely diminished as a power. Then you, of course, have the ethics of the media as a business. Even the most respectable means the biggest and best known media houses are not legally compliant employers, either in terms of retrenchment, proper retrenchment with full legal benefits, or in terms of, and this of course is a very old trend, or in terms of that you don't protect your staff from risky assignments. So the most vulnerable frontline media workers have neither, and this has been there ever since the Hindi papers started expanding only with stringers, that you don't have press card protection, you don't have insurance, you don't have protective gear when you're exposed to violence, and your employer doesn't care and is basically being unethical in doing this. About journalists being supine, well, while some are supine, as the others have been doing their journalism, but, then the courts have to back you up. When there's been a lot of writing on the PM Cares Fund, the Supreme Court sort of, took that nice lenient view when there was a PIS. And it's, without the support of the courts, it's difficult to fight off the assault on journalism. Then, as she pointed out, all these other things are happening, the dilution of the independence of the Information Commission, the complete capitulation of the public broadcaster, and so on. I'm sure we have to leave time for questions. So I think we need to just briefly look at what is the way forward. And I think, you really have to, if you look at, if you can't depend on the police and you can't depend on the judiciary, you still have to keep testing the judiciary. And I think what is not there is the building of alliances with lawyers. And you test the courts at every level. And the district guys, we really have to come up with a combination of civil society, lawyers, and journalists to build that alliance at the district level. You've got to, you've just got to give them that protection. Then you have the class response of city journalists, which is that, You don't go beyond what happens to a Stroll reporter or Caravan or Wire. I mean, in the English press, you're just not looking at all those little fellows who are constantly being attacked until this one organization, the Risks and what are they called? What was that report of Suhash Chakma? What is the name?
Risk and research analysis.
Whatever. They go and do this report with, 55 cases and so on. So fine, you'll publish it one day. But there is no, and the Editors Guild, all organizations. I mean, Indian journalists are so much under attack and everybody is issuing statements. Nobody has the capacity to go beyond just issuing statements. So, you really need to look at how these alliances need to be built, how money has to be collected, how journalists have to protect themselves by just becoming more active and becoming more active in defending the little ones who are much more vulnerable. I think, again, I'll stop there and we'll see which take it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sevanti.